Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome to our mutual aid literary reading in solidarity with a Palestinian family in Gaza. My very dear friends, Munira El Najar and Dr. Hassan Al Qatrawy and their family of 4 children. My name is Yumi, and I'm a public school teacher and singer based in San Francisco. A huge thank you to Eric and the whole Bird and Beckett team for generously hosting this event and making it possible. And thank you so much to all of you for choosing to dedicate your time to listen to the voices of writers and educators in Gaza and to affirm our interconnectedness. Before we get started, a few wellness and access notes. We will take a brief wellness pause later, but please feel free to take care of yourselves as needed throughout the reading. There is an all-gender restroom right here. Masks are available up at the front for anyone who may want one. And as Eric mentioned, please note that the reading is not being live streamed, but it is being filmed so that I can share it with Dr. Hassan and Munira. There is a fundraising station set up with the laptop. You are welcome to use that or your phone to make your direct donation to the fundraising campaign at any time tonight. We will take a few pauses so that people have time for that, and all of the information, including the QR code, is in your packet. It's really been one of the greatest honors of my life to organize this reading in solidarity with Munira, who is one of Palestine's greatest educators, and Dr. Hassan, a celebrated writer and university lecturer. They have 4 children, Ali, who is 18, Lamis, who is 15, Mohammed, 13, and their youngest, Aboud, who is 4. As Munira explains in her campaign, and as you'll learn more about through some of their writings, since having to flee their home in Nuseirat in December 2023, their family has been displaced more than 7 times. But throughout everything, they've survived, and Munira and Dr. Hassan have continued to build community and solidarity through their eloquent words and hearts. We have a group of Bay Area-based educators and writers tonight who will be reading out work that Munira and Dr. Hassan have specifically compiled for us. But first, I'm very honored to introduce a special guest named Munadel Herzala. He is a Palestinian American community member and public school educator in San Francisco. His roots are in Gaza, and he is in daily constant contact with his family there. So please join me in welcoming Munadel Herzala.
Thank you. Thank you, Yomi. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this beautiful gathering, amazing neighborhood bookstore. I've never been here before, and I feel bad about it. I had the nice opportunity to meet Eric, and I am a Palestinian. My grandfather was born and raised in Gaza, and so was my grandmother, so was my father. My family were forced to leave the homeland and lived in Jordan. That's where I was born and raised. This gathering, it's really amazing for us as Palestinians because it shows the angle of the Palestinian life that hardly people know about. We all know about the politics and the drama and the genocide and the blood and the killing and the starvations and everything like that. Each and every one Palestinians that live in Gaza wants the whole world to know that we're just people like anybody else that deserve to live life. We want to be living, we want to enjoy reading. We want to write poetry. We want to play music. We're just like anybody else. And it's really amazing to see people in Gaza, in spite of this genocide, in spite of this killing, in spite of this starvation. They are insisting in showing the world, no, we want to live our life and we want to enjoy it and we want to make friends, even if it takes like thousands and thousands of miles away. And friends like Yomi, makes that possible. And that's really something that I'm extremely proud of. To do that while you are under attack and aggression and genocide, it is really the definition of perseverance. That is what perseverance is. That's what's determination to live and speak. So I'm really honored to be with you today and hear you reading, and send our greeting to Munira and her husband, and to all teachers, all children, all students, all women, everybody in Gaza and in Palestine. Hopefully, with these kind of gatherings, we will make world a better place. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words. And now we will begin the reading. It will be in 4 sections, alternating between Dr. Hassan and Munira's writings. Our first set is by Dr. Hassan. He is an author of 2 novels and other literary works that have been published in journals around the world. He was a university lecturer at Al-Aqsa University before it was destroyed. And in fact, he wrote his second novel, Rawan's Cafe, in a makeshift tent during their family's displacement in Gaza. I'm really honored to share this beautiful letter with you that Dr. Hassan has written to us. Those of you who have a packet, it is the very first page, but I told them that I'd be reading this out loud. So this is what Dr. Hassan has written. What bothers a writer the most is the attempt to precisely describe great events. For every monumental moment demands words that match its weight, words that turn meaning into a living image the reader can see and feel deeply with both heart and soul. In most natural places, life is a genuine joy, practiced with effortless ease, as if people are living in paradise. A single tap on a screen is enough to fulfill their needs. Food arrives through delivery. Electricity flows nonstop all day. Water is never a concern. Charging a phone is easier than speaking. Lighting a stove is like flicking a lighter. Everything works that simply. But in Gaza, life is different. It is harder than life in hell. For hell may be a punishment of justice, but here it is the punishment of injustice and oppression. You're stripped of even the smallest signs of humanity. Respect is an outdated idea. Everyone in Gaza lives in hell, but parents live a hell of their own. They are tasked with preserving their lives and their children's in a place where death is the only thing that grows. It's like trying to dodge 1,000 arrows coming at you all at once. Nothing in Gaza is fit for life, but we live for it anyway. We live for this land they tried to burn, to distort in our hearts. But shame on them. We knew it before the fire. To us, it is beautiful. There is no good bread here, but still, we live on our land. There is no water, yet we are nourished by the sight of it. The air is not clean, yet we breathe its name. Palestine is the most wronged place in history and the most loved in the present. That's why you are here today. I want to send you all my love and longing from Gaza. I feel proud that you are listening to our stories. Your hearts inspire us. They carry so much love that deserves to live long and so much humanity that pulses with life. Palestine is strong because of you, dear friends. Dr. Hassan. And now I'm honored to welcome our first reader, JT.
Good evening, everybody. So great to see y'all. Mabuhay sa inyong lahat. Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor to be here. My name is JT. I'm a poet and an educator. 2 hours of persistent attempts to convince a swarm of cats who had gathered around me while I was cooking our single meal of the day that today's food was simply not to their taste. I told them more than once that it was molokhia. They didn't believe me. The cats misread the expressions on my face. All of them meowed incessantly without pause. Only one seemed to understand that I was saying. She began meowing. Only one seemed to understand what I was saying, and she began meowing at the others, as if explaining that today's meal was meant for humans. But even then, they didn't believe her. The cats took over the place. One sat next to the stove, another curled up on my worn-out chair, a third paced in circles, a fourth perched on the wall. And the biggest one stared directly at the food, exchanging resentful glances with me. After much back and forth, we found a solution to place the food down for everyone to eat together. Whoever liked it could continue eating until full, and whoever didn't could go find something else. And that's exactly what happened. We served the molokhia, and the meowing began again, as if we were a celebration. The cats are shedding their gentleness. Before this hunger, they were quiet and tame, obedient in a strangely submissive way. Today, they've become wild creatures, fighting for their share of whatever scraps are left. And that is their right, given to them by God. Trust in the provider. He who did not abandon the cats will not abandon a people. I play the political analyst for my children at home. I tell them the war is breathing its last. I base it on my mother's reassurances, even if I find myself asking about her when this war will end. Here in Gaza, this is how we inherit safety, from the words of our mothers. I play the baker too. Last time, my wife banned me from baking again after I burned 3 loaves. I swore to her 100 times it was the stove's fault, but she didn't believe me. In the end, she promoted me to the laundry department. I sneak food to the cats. They gather outside like a pack of little wolves. One peeks inside shyly, another doesn't seem to understand Arabic, and just tears into the food bags. And the smallest one meows as if she's weeping. I steal a little from our own food so that we can share our hunger together. I drink cold tea every day. My elderly neighbor, my mother, my friend swears it's just come off the fire, that I arrived right on time, but there's no fire anywhere. The sound of the tea pouring is lovely, but no steam rises from the cup. It tastes more like ice juice. She doesn't usually lie, but sometimes she forgets the time, and sometimes even my name. In the afternoons, I clean my father's shoes. There's always some dust around his grave. I wiped it off my eyelashes so his shoes would shine. When he was buried, he looked at me as if he was trying to speak. I understood. He wanted to be sure we would be okay. I still tell him the war rages on. I know it saddens him, but lying would hurt him even more. Every night I count my children. Mohammed sleeps with his face covered. I gently pull the blanket back just to see him, to complete the count. 2 days ago, a small bird fell from its nest. Its mother almost killed herself trying to save it. Her cries reached the sky, so real and so raw. I don't know how mothers in Gaza endure such heartbreak. And when they scream, the world accuses them of exaggerating. I fall asleep with swollen feet and wake up at dawn to start it all over again, like the endless turning of a water wheel.
This piece by Dr. Hassan is called Toto Under the Rubble. Hello, my friend Toto. I'm okay, in case you were wondering about me. even if you don't ask as often as you used to, but that's all right. What matters is that I remain loyal to you. I tell people your terrifying story that kept me from sleeping. I tell them about the filthy war that forced you to leave us and forced your soft body to remain buried under rubble for half a year. Don't worry, my friend. The sheet told me your body will be restored and the villains won't steal it. Be sure of that. Be sure of my love for you. You will never leave me. I greet you with peace every time I pass your noble grave. I remember your last laughs, hugging me like a warrior returning from a victorious battle and laughing to bless my prayer. You survived your illness, as if you were saying. I remember the day you were discharged from the hospital after your harsh illness. That day, I felt a powerful shiver in my heart, like the shiver of a lover seeing an old flame. My joy was immense when I saw you regain part of your health, blended with your old laughter. You don't know, my friend, how overwhelming my joy was when I saw you laugh again, as if humanity was reborn from the womb of Christ, recited upon by Muhammad and blessed by Abraham. I saw humanity in your laughter, Toto. If humanity isn't in your laugh, where else could it be? Wait, you don't know Toto. All right then. Toto was my dear friend. He lived a humble life, owning nothing but his wide smile. He shared it with everyone without exception. It was his only weapon to survive the cruelty of this world. He gave it generously without need or reason. His smile was like a visa into people's hearts, simple, unfiltered. Toto knew nothing of envy, hatred, or malice. He was pure on the inside, like a snowball. To Toto, the world was a chain of laughs. Anyone who laughed with him was instantly a friend. Anyone who hurt him became a lifelong enemy. The world mourned when Toto was sad, and when he laughed, the whole universe laughed with him. The day he left, the world's joy faded. That's exactly how I felt. Before the war, I never left his side. I would sit with him every night, reviving parts of my stifled laughter hidden deep within me. He alone could save them from drowning and breathe life into my soul. After his departure, I realized that the world needed Toto more than Toto needed the world. Life without Toto's heart is a life void of beauty and humanity. In our weeping neighborhood, he was the fruit of this life. When he left, darkness fell, as if the sun sank into the ocean. That's when I understood what the final light means. When our beloved ones rise like a seesaw, one end lowers as the other rises. A missile falls and the martyrs ascend. As they rise, they remember nothing but the final flash, thinking it's the light that draws them into the sky. They leave us unaware of the disaster they left behind. Only we remain to know and feel it. Just hours before Toto ascended to the heavens, we sat together, laughing loudly, as if it were a farewell party. We said things that could have healed the sorrow in the world's streets and cured the lies choking its chest. Toto was the only one who could kill sadness with joy. Believe me, the world becomes beautiful when Toto starts laughing. It's as if heaven descends to earth. It's nearly impossible to find the right words to describe great Toto, but let me try. Toto is like the first sip of coffee on a magical morning. He's like a beloved song that everyone sings when the maestro plays the first note. Or perhaps the best comparison, he's the cherry on top of a fine piece of cake. Every night we gather and Toto would shower us with short bursts of raw humor, naturally delivered, never artificial. While others polish and perform their jokes, Toto's comedy was fresh as morning dew. He'd say things so purely and spontaneously. Real-life comedy, no acting. A magical wit, enchanting laughs, and a deep but beautiful voice. If he cried, I cried for him. If he laughed, I laughed with him. Toto was the compass of my emotions. I did what he pleased, like a small piece of iron drawn to a magnet. I tilted where he tilted and stayed where he stayed. He stole my feelings like a skilled thief. Everyone knew he was the only thief allowed to steal. He stole people's sadness to make them laugh. He stole their gloom to make them rejoice. What a beautiful thief he was. On the 100th day of the war, the occupation killed him. They sent his tender soul, along with his smiling family, to the heavens. I was left alone, miserable and sad. He left without farewell, as I told you. Farewell is a luxury of slow death. Toto vanished in a flash, no time for goodbyes. They all left at once, as if on a family trip to the sky. I know Toto well. I always saw it in his eyes. He feared death so much, he hated even hearing the word. Once he asked his mother, "Will I die in the war?" She smiled and answered, "You won't die. You'll live a long life." He asked again, "But everyone's dying." She reassured him, "But you will live." Toto didn't live long. His mother wasn't lying. She meant he'd live long in heaven. My friend Toto left this earth to heal from the sickness of this world. He had Down syndrome. That was the secret of his charm. People with Down syndrome are incredibly beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them, only with those who judge them. Though his tongue was heavy, his spirit was light. Though his mind was simple, his heart was huge. Toto never knew why he left this world or what sin he paid for, but I know the reason well. Toto left because the occupation wanted to punish joy with sorrow, happiness with grief. Toto was a friend to humanity, so they killed him. That's the truth. The occupation's job is to kill humanity and assassinate love. Toto's soul went to the heavens. His body remains under the rubble. If you ever pass through our neighborhood, you'll find a big stone that reads, "Toto is under the rubble." Please send him your peace.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tasha, and I'm an educator here in San Francisco, and I'm very honored to be here tonight. This next piece is a poem by Dr. Hassan called "Between Two Bullets." By the sea, upon burning sands, beside torn limbs and the scent of death, before the first death and the final torment, I laid myself down to rest. A weary rest, a heart worn thin, in my hands, a lonely book. A dry piece of bread, an empty bottle of water, and my tears. I had forgotten love. I remembered it after the poem. I cast it into my heart and fell asleep. I awoke between two bullets, smoke, fire, the hiss of lead, a mother's wail, and ululations. Two martyrs, a father and a groom, laughing. The sea wept, so I wept. Where are my old shoes? The earth wounds my heart. My feet smile. Blood is an epic. And I understood. The shoes weren't stolen. The ground here rejects them. There are sacred remains on sacred soil. No shoes.
Hello, my name is Dan. I'm a recent educator, lifelong worker in San Francisco. I'm reading The Man with the Black Hat. I sit alone next to my remote tent in one of the places here that is made for half humans. Every night since the first day of my displacement is the same, and I feel as though I live among graves. In displacement, tents are mass graves. So I just try to live a half life in this place where life itself is half death. I sit alone to escape the heat of the tent and my fear of the dark. Well, that's not actually why I do it. I do it to try and protect my children from the jet's hunger for little bodies, because I don't think the pilot of the killer jet will become a kind person overnight. All our previous experiences with him have been bad. Time and again, the pilot has proven himself to be a natural, insatiable killer. How could I believe that, this time, he could be tamed? Nonsense. Not once has he bothered to avoid slaughtering women and children. He has always betrayed them, always turned their bodies into fragments, parts, pieces. Although, get that idea out of your head, my friend. Beautiful things are still happening. I'll tell you about them. I'm usually alone, with no other people around, but I have lots of friends from other worlds. A few old rodents hover around me, roaming around and glancing at me in disgust, watching this strange man taking up space and living on their land. It angers them, just like I am angered by the people who have occupied my land and expelled me from my home. The rodents have barely accepted my presence, but in the past few days they've changed their ways. They've been calmer with me, not getting angry with me as they did before. They've gotten to know me, grown familiar with my presence, with my appearance. The rodents are not particularly treacherous. We recently made a tacit agreement. They trust me if I trust them. A temporary pause on killing each other. A truce. A break from the wars of nature. We accept each other. When I sit in front of my tent, I see some strange things happen. A blind old lady and her only son live across from me. They were the only two survivors from their family after a killer jet bombed their home. Everyone is gone, except for the old lady and her son. Last week he died too, while he was buying some food at the market. Where he was existing, that was the target of a missile. So he was the first to swiftly follow the rest of his family, and such was the end of that family in this world. Now, no one is left, except for this old lady. It's as if she has been orphaned again. Not from her parents. This woman has been orphaned from all her children. Sadness pervades. The blind old lady is alone now, in a place where you need everyone. We agree to take care of her without telling her about her son's passing. This was suggested to us by someone we didn't know. It was the first time he'd sat among us, the first time we'd seen his face. He wore a black hat, like a hunter's cap. But every time we bring her food, she refuses it, saying her son doesn't want anyone giving her anything. We laugh. We laugh out of sheer sadness and leave. She doesn't know that her son died last week, and that we are the ones taking care of her. One night, as I sit alone in front of my tent as always, I see a man wearing a black hat entering the tent carrying a lot of bags. He sits there until the old lady falls asleep. Then, quietly, he sneaks out. He does this every night without fail. My face was nearly eaten up with surprise as I wondered, who is this man who comes to do this every day? Perhaps he was the same man who suggested we hide her son's death from the old lady. Maybe it's him. The old lady returned to Allah yesterday. At her wake, I saw the man with the black hat, so I asked him about what he'd been doing. He told me he was a close friend of her late son, and that he'd taken it upon himself to take care of her without telling her of her son's passing, until he or she died.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric. I am a local educator. This is The Devil's Head Tent by Dr. Hassan Al Qatrawy. The clock struck 7 in the evening when the Israeli shell shattered the silence of our home unexpectedly. It didn't kill us. It was kinder than the thief who fired it, knowing that the rightful owner never truly dies. It only unleashed a terrifying sound, one children know all too well. My daughter Lamis screamed, and my heart dropped. I felt it break before it started beating again. It resumed its rhythm once I saw her safe. Lamis, my only daughter, spoke with a sorrow all parents understand. "Father, the bird will die. We have to run from this place." The bird was the first thing I remembered as death approached. I had bought it for her to ease her loneliness. Her brothers were all boys who often forgot her in their games. The bird was her sole companion when I was away. That morning we prepared to flee. I saw Lamise standing beside me, clutching the bird's cage. She loved it as parents love their children. Its food was in her school bag. She'd emptied her books to make it a tiny kitchen. We left our home, and dark tears streamed from my wife's eyes, staining her lashes with kohl. Her last glance at the house was full of grief. Leaving your home to strangers who will desecrate it is never easy, but this is the fate of the weak, seeking survival by embracing an even crueler death. During our forced displacement, we built a tent resembling a devil's head, places that shelter you against your will, prisons of despair. At that moment, I recalled my grandfather's tears that never dried until he passed. I saw their burning without truly understanding it then. It was like a glowing ember in his heart. That day, I grasped the meaning of homeland theft. Heritage is not just wealth. Sometimes it is tragedy. I inherited this tragedy from my fathers on the day of displacement. On the first night, my wife and I wept after the children slept. We cried for the oppression we carried unseen. We left our dreams in the house, founded on pains that never hurt us deeply, pains filled with hope. Our backs never bowed from building that home, but they bent the day we abandoned it alone to face the cruelty of occupation. We were supposed to protect it, but we failed. I do not know with what face we will return if fate grants us a return. In the Devil's Head tent, everything was strange, even laughter and love. We laughed to feign strength, struggling to stand firm on land that did not resemble us, places that rejected us, as if cursing our departure. Nothing kills the heart more than being a burden on a land that stares at you in wonder. We left the house that silently embraced our brokenness and quietly bore the wounded's pain. We left our hearts behind. The next day, Lamise told me the bird was sad. I knew why, but lied. Maybe it hasn't eaten, I said. I fed it, she replied. Maybe it hasn't rested yet, I added. She doubted my lie. The bird mourned its absence from home like my wife. As for me, I was sadder, but it was a silent grief, invisible to the naked eye. Our home was a great homeland for all of us, even the bird. Birds, like humans, recognize their homelands and grieve leaving them. Haven't you seen them die after exile? War is the dumbest idea to cure hatred among peoples. Thousands die so others can live under feelings of hatred and tragedy. Wars do not create life. They only make it miserable quickly. Peace has always been cheaper, but its voice is always hoarse. Like a remorseful knot, every night the children slept under the roar of shells while I remained awake and fearful. Those who await death do not know sleep. Death in Gaza is like a blind person feeling their way. My wife was also afraid, though half asleep, pretending to sleep to escape the sound of death. Women, like children, fear deeply. The difference is a matter of scale. Women's fear is measured by their capacity to love. In war's atmosphere, love's voice dims while death's voice rises. Awake and fleeing my pain, I searched for my books that had escaped with me during displacement. I barely gathered a few, the rest I left behind. Perhaps they cursed me too. How could I flee without them? I heard their groans as I closed the doors, like the wail of a mute woman. Everything I left alone in the house was cursing me. Fleeing without loved ones is betrayal to the love that bound us. My half-asleep wife saw me searching and knew what I had done. No books, she said sadly. I emptied their place for the children's clothes, I replied. She smiled sarcastically. Even my few books had no place with us. The children's things were more important than books. For the first time, I felt a painful stab from my wife. The books were my children, too. How could we leave them in the house? I remembered their sad cries. Then I knew I had left part of my heart there, my library, my lost life in a moment. War is always a tragedy. That morning, my mobile phone rang. In war, a phone call means disaster. I prayed it was for reassurance, but God did not answer. My friend was on the other end, frantic, his voice carrying tears between words. He told me our friend was under the rubble with his wife and children. I didn't know how to console him. I needed consolation myself. This war was not ordinary, like death itself. Everything in it is strange. The death of my friend and his family was a heavy grief without solace. Reverence before death in this war was a luxury. I hung up, clueless. I was displaced while my friend was home. The distance between us was like a barrier separating physical death from spiritual death. We all die, only the way differs. Our death in this war has no farewell. Sorrows come one after another, awaiting new grief every day. An hour later, I went to the market carrying the pains of death and returned with the food of life. We eat to live one more day in a death whose ways we do not know. We dream of dying in a better way. Death under rubble is terrifying and dreadful. I thought much about my friend's death. Did he scream all night, waiting for rescue with no answer? In that moment, I wished for his quick death. The idea of slow death terrifies me. Slow death is dying 1,000 times, dying from fear, terror, and waiting. I harshly shut away my memories. They refuse to be forgotten. When I reached my Devil's Head tent, my wife told me the drinking water was finished. Its end meant tragedy in all its details. I went to the Sweetwater station and found a queue longer than the war's sorrows. If war had one tragedy, it was getting a sip of enough water. In the water line, everyone was equal. I work as a psychological counselor for many institutions and a lecturer at Al-Aqsa University in Gaza as an assistant professor. Beside me stood strangers, perhaps a student I taught, a colleague I knew, or a stranger I once ignored. All held their place, and no one cared about who was last. In the water queue, everyone is equal, like standing on the narrow path. When I filled my gallon, a fleeting happiness overwhelmed me, like a child who got their toy. I hurried back to the Devil's Head tent and found my youngest son twisting like a frightened snake in bed. He was sick from the harsh cold of displacement, a cold that resembled the world's stance toward our death. No doctors treat children in war. Ordinary childhood illness is mocked beside rapid death in Gaza. You must hide it and become your own doctor. I bought medicine I didn't know the name of and a fever reducer that tasted like rotten juice. My little one recovered by God's medicine, for God heals everything when the capable are absent. His wisdom shines and exposes human helplessness. In the displaced tents, I gathered with neighbors around the radio. The great broadcasters spoke of the strength of our people, their courage, and the greatness of their patience. I laughed silently, my lips hidden from all eyes behind my scarf that shielded me from the winter cold. Where is the strength? I asked myself. Should I scream? What can I do to stop their lies? We are oppressed, sir. There is a difference between patience and oppression. Patience is being able to do something but not doing it. We are oppressed and powerless. Facing death unwillingly is not strength, but oppression. They say this to excuse themselves from duty, support, and belonging. My words remained in my chest as I went to sleep. I do not like lies much, but tell them when forced by an unexpected visitor. The broadcaster was like me. He lied because our death came suddenly. We should have been allowed to schedule our deaths. In the morning, I saw Lamis crying. Her tears burned like fire in my heart. Her pain made me a prisoner to anything she said. I knew something had befallen the bird. I thought of a fitting mourning. She came close as I pondered, walking heavily as if through mud. When she reached me, she said in a defeated voice, "The bird died," and broke down. I held her without a word. My silence was the only eulogy. We know the bird left to tell us of its sorrow, for death was its only way to speak.
Thank you so much to all of our wonderful readers in part one. We will now listen to a very short set of works by Munira El Najar, who is my dear friend and a fellow high school teacher. She is one of the most celebrated educators in all of Palestine. She's a veteran English language teacher of 16 years, and in 2022 was named one of Palestine's top 10 teachers. I have seen video clips of her classroom, and all I can say is that she is absolutely the type of educator that I work to try to be every day. And I've had the honor to build a close friendship with Munira over the past year since we first connected last year through my friend and former professor, Candace. I know I'm not alone in saying that knowing Munira and that her friendship has changed my life. Here are some of Munira's words about tonight's reading. She writes, as teachers, as educators, as writers, we carry more than lessons and books. We carry stories. We carry memory. We carry resistance. This event is not only about my family's survival, but about the role of education in times of destruction. When everything is taken from us, our voices remain. And as long as we teach, write, and speak, we remain whole. In this short set of 3 pieces, we will hear about lived experiences of motherhood in Gaza. And following the 3rd piece, our reader, Celeste, will read the first piece of part 3, a story by Dr. Hassan. After that, we will take a brief pause for wellness donations before we return to close out the reading. Thank you all.
Good evening. My name is Sarita. I am a professor, a writer, a singer, and a mother here in the Bay Area. A letter from a mother in Gaza to mothers around the world. To every mother who wakes her children with a kiss and sleeps peacefully to the sound of their laughter. To every mother who packs a school bag or waits by the window for her child's return. I write to you from a place that no longer resembles life, a place where motherhood is entangled with prayer, where love walks hand in hand with patience, and fear is softened only by hope. I am a mother, just like you. I dream only to see my children grow, to prepare them a meal without first counting the airstrikes, to dress them in clean clothes that don't carry the scent of smoke, to let them sleep without asking, when will the war end, or why us? In Gaza, we do not live, we wait. We wait for bread, for water, for the faint signal of safety. We wait to count our children every evening and tremble at the thought that one may be missing by dawn. Mothers of this world, we do not ask for pity, but for witness. We do not ask for silence, but for a voice beside ours, so that your children, when they grow up, will know that we had children too, that we had arms and hearts and fears just like you. Let the world remember that in Gaza, mothers still give birth under fire, raise children in tents, and teach them that love survives even in war. From my small tent, I write to you with the voice of every mother who endured, every mother who grieved, and every mother who still dares to dream of peace.
I am a mother from Gaza. I stand before you today not to share a personal tragedy, but to speak on behalf of thousands of mothers who fight every single day, a quiet war armed not with stones, but with love, a piece of bread, and enduring patience. In my home, one that survived the bombs, but not the hunger, I begin each day with a simple yet weighty question. How will I feed my children today? Our supplies are scarce, markets are empty, stepping outside can be dangerous. Still, I search. I gather what little I have, some lentils, a bit of vegetable, and create meals from almost nothing. I bake bread over a wood fire, dividing it carefully to make sure it reaches everyone. I don't taste before they do. I don't rest until I see them eat, even if it's just a little. I avoid canned food whenever I can. I know but it carries chemicals and preservatives I wouldn't wish on growing bodies. They are in their years of growth, and I am in my years of fear. But I am not alone. All around me are mothers walking hours under the threat of airstrikes to find a bag of flour, mothers nursing their babies while hungry themselves, others baking over open flames, rationing oil, and sacrificing sleep just to comfort a child. This is not a normal life, yet we try to create one within the limits of grief. We do not have an abundance of food, but we do have an abundance of love, resilience, and dignity. I am a mother from Gaza. I carry fear in my heart, bread in my hands, and a silent prayer in my eyes. May my children never sleep hungry.
Wow. Hi, everyone. My name is Celeste. I'm a writer in San Francisco, and my dad survived the Pacific War as a child, so I'm here for solidarity. A letter from a Gazan mother to mothers around the world on Mother's Day. Oh, I see someone cupping their ear. Is that better? Okay, let's try that again. A letter from a Gazan mother to mothers around the world on Mother's Day. I write to you from Gaza, where this day is like no other. Here there are no gifts, no flowers, no smiles on our children's faces. Mother's Day in Gaza is not a day of celebration. It is just another heavy day that carries with it pain, endurance, and waiting. Today, while you celebrate your children, your love for them, and the peace that fills your home, I am here with only memories. Memories of peaceful moments, of simple joy. But in Gaza, there is no time for joy. Here, tragedy seeps into every corner, destroying every moment of safety. 2 mothers die every hour in Gaza since October 7th, according to international reports. While mothers here fight to survive, their children face hunger, displacement, and an endless fear that never relents. Those who've survived the death and destruction do not escape the horrors of forced displacement, detention, and starvation. We have learned here that motherhood can be cruel, painful, and sometimes it only means surviving. We watch our children suffer, and all we can do is remain silent and pray for this nightmare to end. I want to thank my dear friend Anne from Belgium, who carried my voice and my story to those far from the war, to those who don't know the extent of the pain every mother in Gaza endures. In the picture she sent me, you see me teaching my students when life was closer to normal. But today, everything has changed, even the way we teach, even the way we dream. Yet no matter the circumstances, motherhood remains in us. Wars and destruction cannot take it away. In our hearts, there is still a love that nothing can erase, even when life is unbearably cruel. Today, I do not ask you to celebrate. I ask you to remember. I ask you to remember, to feel what we feel, to understand that the mothers here stand on the edge of the abyss every moment, not for joy, but for survival. Okay. Thank you. And actually, I'm going to put my mask back on. And perhaps the masking is the mark of transitioning to a piece by Dr. Hassan. Here we go. The Sound of Death and the White Cat by Dr. Hassan. It was never easy to hear the sound of death and remain strong, as I always tried to be. The sound of death hisses like a serpent. It coils around your soul in terror just by existing. I know snakes well, but seeing them fly in the sky is a horror I never imagined. The war began, and my strength began to unravel. Death's whistle echoed through the streets, chilling to the bone. I pretended to be brave so my children could feel safe. But it was never real safety, only a counterfeit courage, the only fragile shield we had. I didn't want my children to die 1,000 times from fear. You can see death, but I had never heard it until the 50th day of this war. I remember it vividly. A missile hissed overhead before crashing into my Kyle neighbor's home. They died without ever hearing it. They died once, but we died twice. Once from the sound, once from the fear. I'm gonna, I think, take this off. When the noise faded, I saw my little boy running in all directions, panic written across his face. I knew what he was searching for. His fear for the things mirrored my fear for mine, my children. His cat was his treasure. When he finally found her, I watched his features soften as he gently stroked her back, like a father comforting his child. "We have to run, Dad," he whispered with a sorrow older than his years. "The cat will die." All the neighborhood cats were starving, except for his. He guarded her like an orphan child. I don't recall a single night she went to bed hungry. That's the toll of friendship. It can rival love. Love may die with betrayal, but true friendship resists. My son was a faithful friend to his cat. That day, we had to leave our loyal home, the home that loved us more than itself. You can see love in the eyes of those who house you. Our home sheltered us from a mistle once, absorbing its death with a final smile. It let itself shatter so we could survive. The cruelty of war. We fled to a place that felt nothing like us. Everything there was harsh. To be displaced from your home is a slow dying. You keep breathing, but every breath feels tighter, every day more grief-ridden. I came to understand, not all killing ends in death. Some deaths keep you breathing, while your loved ones vanish. The hardest loss was a friend I made in the camp. Every evening we'd gather behind our tents like prison sheets, talking about a homeland lost in a blink, remembering laughter that had become sadness. We lined up for water, our lives reduced to a queue. He had survived a bombing, only he and his blind mother. He had lost his entire family in a single moment. Yet he laughed, and I'd wonder, how can he laugh with so much grief in his heart? When he died, I understood. He was laughing his way out of this world, the world that mourns a single flower but stays silent as a nation dies. His soul was already on its way to join his wife and children. That was his secret. He died without resistance, content. An airstrike hit a car near him. The pilot didn't care who else would die. He just wanted revenge. But he only gifted my friend the reunion he longed for. In the language of love, my friend had won. When I got the news, I didn't tell his mother. I stayed by her side, serving her quietly. One night, she called out for him. I rushed over. "He's gone," she sobbed. "No, he's not," I lied. "Don't lie to me," she said firmly. "I'm blind, but I see with a mother's heart. He kisses me every night. You don't." She was right. 2 nights later, she joined her family in heaven. Her passing was as bitter as war. The next morning, my son told me his cat had stopped eating. She was sick and frail. His voice broke my heart. I tried to soothe him. Maybe he didn't like the food. Sorry. But it's the same food she always eats. Maybe she didn't sleep well. He nodded, knowing I was lying. Cats, like people, fall ill when torn from home. Our home was hers too. To lose your home is to suffer twice. The next day, my wife was baking bread. She grabbed some torn papers to light the oven. My handwritten manuscript. Oh my God. I had written my story by candlelight, powerless without electricity. I stared at the flames devouring my heart's ink. My wife looked horrified. I smiled bitterly and said, "Don't worry. Bread feeds them more than my words. Writing is a long poverty." Later at the market, I met an old man with a water jug. I helped him carry it. He had no one left, only his sick wife. She lay under a thin sheet, devoured by illness. I rushed home, grabbed our mattress and warm blanket, and gave it to them. It was enough for 2. When they lay down, I felt like my parents had finally found rest. The next morning, my phone rang. War changes even the sound of a ringtone. It felt like a trumpet announcing doom. I prayed for good news. God didn't answer. My brother was sobbing. My uncle, his wife, and their children were buried under rubble. He had refused to flee. He knew the safest place wasn't on earth. It was above. I closed the call, my heart screaming silently. In this war, there were no goodbyes, only brief sorrows waiting for the next. I went back to the market, carrying the weight of death, and returned with food, the price of surviving another day in this slow death. We dream of a better way to die. Being crushed under rubble is terrifying. I wondered, did my uncle's family die fast or slow? I hoped it was fast. Dying slowly means dying 1,000 deaths of fear, waiting, and pain. I slammed the door on memory. That's the only way to survive here. Painful memories must be shut out forcefully. They don't fade on their own. We're all dead here. The difference is who can still walk. When I returned, I saw my son crying. His sorrow filled the air, a child's grief that darkens the world. There's treasure in a child's heart, pure, healing innocence. His tears burned like fire. I knew what had happened. The cat was gone. "She died, Daddy," he said in a broken voice. and sobbed. I held him in silence. Sometimes silence is the only funeral prayer. The cat, like us, hated exile. Home isn't where you live, it's what lives inside you. And when a homeland is crushed, so are the souls that loved it. Wow, those are beautiful pieces. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our readers and to all of you. In a moment, we will take just a very short wellness pause, and also will be a chance for people to donate if they haven't had a chance yet. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew the different ways to do that. We do have a donation station with a laptop set up right over there. You are welcome to use your phone. In the packet that I believe everybody has, but if not, there are extras right here as well as at the front. On the second page, there is the QR code for the fundraiser that we are donating directly to. Nations not only directly support Munira and Dr. Hassan's family in their current conditions, but also nourish roots of hope for better days, as they are actively working to try to leave Gaza, to try to find safety for their children. As I mentioned at the start, they have 4 children, and they are doing everything they can to work towards better days. So please, I want to encourage everyone to give as much as you are able to. The impact of our material solidarity cannot be put into words. It means everything. So please, if you have not yet had a chance to donate, or even if you'd like to donate again, please do that if possible before you leave tonight. And we will take a few minutes right now for wellness as well. It's 8:36, so if we can plan to be back at around 8:40, 8:41, that would be wonderful. Thank you all so much. The second half is mostly very short pieces. We've read most of the longer ones, and we have some really beautiful poetry and other short pieces coming up to close out the evening.
So first, I am going to read a translation from the first stanza of I Will Run, a poem by Dr. Hassan. This is a translation from Mosab Abu Toha. When a ceasefire is announced, I will just run. No one ask me where. I myself don't even know. I will just run and run. Maybe to a space in this city, maybe to my old solitude, maybe towards the sun. I don't know. The important thing is to arrive at a quiet place, a place that allows me to weep for a long time. And then I will read I Will Run in its entirety. When the war is over, I will run. I do not know where to. Perhaps into the open arms of the city, or back to my long-lost solitude, or toward the sun. I cannot say, only that I must arrive at a place quiet enough to let me cry. I will run to a saint's refuge or the sanctum of lovers, to a prayer mat and 2 bowed rachas, to my mother's whispered prayers and my father's steady shoulder. I will run to unknown places, the echo of the heavens, a dim island, the call to prayer or church bells. I will run to wounded spaces that honor the sanctity of tears. I will run to funeral processions, to martyrs' graves, to the weeping of widows and children's cries, to the city turned to ash, to leaning walls, to carts of roaming vendors, to the rose farms, now empty, to the chipped vessels and places soaked in sorrow. I will run to the land of mourning, and I will weep, weep until I am full.
The supermarket. In the supermarket, I heard someone beside me say, "The war will end soon." He held his phone, wedged between shoulder and ear, while placing his chosen items into a basket. He smiled. I asked him, "Will the war really end soon, as you believe?" He left me there, laughing like a madman. When I asked the shopkeeper why, he told me. He comes here every day, buys the same biscuits, his late daughter's favorite, and tells her the war will end. He believes it will end. He believes she will come back.
Life in Gaza is a miracle. What you do without thinking requires a miracle for us in Gaza. As you browse a menu to choose your daily meal, remember, we spend long hours just to know if we will eat at all. When your food arrives within minutes, remember, it takes us endless hours to prepare a single meal, seasoned with smoke and dust. We buy firewood by a miracle. We light the fire by a miracle. And we find bread by a miracle. As you sip your sweet, sweet tea, remember, ours tastes bitter. Sugar has vanished from our city. As you ride in comfort, remember, some of our wounded die waiting for an ambulance that never comes. As you prepare to make your sacrifice in a few days, remember, some in Gaza have already given all their children. As you retreat from the sun into the cool of your air-conditioned room, remember, the sun sits with us inside the tent. And as you read these simple words, remember, we walked miles so you could know our truth. We ask only this, that you respect our patience or our anger or even our exhaustion. Should we one day be too tired to speak, we want to live with dignity or die with respect. And never forget this, life in Gaza is a miracle because we were left alone with all this grief. No one died. No one died. Only 70,000 and 1,000 more. Half of them from thirst. Half of them, the other half, from hunger. Some were asleep, except 1,000 who died of speaking. No one died. Only 7,000 and 1,000 more. Men and old women, or men and old men, grandmothers and young girls, the wealthy and the poor, except 1,000 who were killed by forgetting. No one died, only 7,000 and 1,000 more. A teacher, a doctor, a candy seller, and many women and children, except 1,000 who slipped quietly through the evening news.
And now we will read our last few pieces of the evening. This last set are some writings by Munira El Najar. I will read the first two, and then we'll have another guest reader read the last one. This one is called "Never Imagined I'd Still Be Alive to Share This Story." A few days ago, the enemy launched a terrifying assault on the northern part of the Nuseirat refugee camp. The skies lit up with explosions and fire, and we faced an unimaginable hell. My children and I were caught in the middle with shrapnel from rockets, bombs, and bullets scattering around us from every direction. We had no choice but to stand our ground. Where could we even go? Our tent in Deir al-Bala is worn out, needing repairs and a roof of fabric and nylon to protect us. So we stayed, braving the firestorm, as there was no other option. For days, I barely thought about food. Fear consumed us more than hunger ever could. My heart raced as I remained tense, ready for anything that might come our way. With each blast, my little boy, Aboud, would scream, petrified. To calm him down, I made him a colorful clay dough and started playing with him and his father, molding silly shapes and trying to make him laugh, all while the world around us was torn apart. By the fourth day, the situation worsened, and bullets began ricocheting off the walls nearby. I told my husband that I wanted to escape with our children, but he looked at me and said, "How can we run? The drones are shooting at anything that moves." I felt hopeless, but when night fell, one of the women who had fled from the nearby school came by and told us. I saw the tanks with my own eyes. They're close. Hearing this, I knew we had to flee, no matter the cost. I decided to take Aboud, Lamis, and Muhammad with me. I told my husband to follow with our eldest, Ali, once we were gone. I quickly packed a small bag, stuffing it with only a few pieces of bread, a small pack of cheese, a few cucumbers, a bottle of water, and an extra change of clothes for Aboud. That was all we could take. When the sound of gunfire eased slightly, we ran as fast as we could through the camp's narrow alleys like the wind. I was too scared to even open my phone's camera to document what we were going through. When I reached the market area, I waited, praying for my husband and Ali to arrive safely. They finally did, and my husband urged me to take the kids to my brother's house while he returned to our tent in Deir al-Bala with Ali. I did as he asked. When I arrived at my brother's, I found several of my relatives there too, also fleeing the violence. 30 of us crowded into a tiny space, no bigger than 80 square meters. We slept on the floor, barely able to breathe, but for the first time in days, I could sleep a little, exhausted beyond words. The next morning, I contacted my neighbor Dunya to check on the situation back home. She told me it was still dangerous. Fearful of what might happen next, I worried about losing everything we had left behind. My laptop with my husband's new novel, my work, and all my academic achievements as a teacher and a master's student was there. I knew I had to retrieve it no matter what. So I left my brother's house, carrying Aboud on my shoulder. As I made my way back, the marketplace was crowded with people waiting in long lines for bread, and vegetables were scarce. It was a scene that made my heart sink. As I neared the cemetery close to our area, I saw families digging graves for their children, mothers and young men. 43 of my neighbors had become martyrs. When I finally reached home, I heard that the forces had pulled back, at least for now. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but today I'm grateful we're still here, holding on, hoping, and finding strength in every small moment of peace. In the midst of all of this, I still managed to take my midterm exam for my master's course in educational statistics through the university's online system. Imagine trying to study and focus with the chaos surrounding us. After submitting my test, I got a call from my professor, Dr. Abdel Karim Faraj Allah, who told me that I had received the highest score among all the students. In that moment, I felt a spark of pride and hope, proof that I can keep holding on to my dreams, even in the darkest of times. No mother should ever face this. and no child should have to grow up under these circumstances. Imagine if it were your family, your kids, hiding from bullets and explosions, wondering if they could survive, if they would survive the day. No parent should have to soothe their child's terror with clay toys as bombs fall around them. If you're reading this, I hope it fills you with sadness for the suffering that we, parents and children alike, are forced to endure. To the women who lifted me up, a heartfelt thank you on International Women's Day. Today, on International Women's Day, I find myself reflecting on the incredible power of women supporting women. I think about the kindness, the generosity, and the unwavering belief that has been extended to me by so many of you. Women from different walks of life, across countries and cultures, bound together by one simple but profound truth. When women uplift each other, there is no limit to what we can achieve. Your support, whether through a donation, a message of encouragement, or simply sharing my story, has meant more than I can express. You didn't just contribute to a cause. You invested in hope, in resilience, in the idea that no woman should ever feel alone in her struggles. Your generosity is more than financial aid. It is a declaration that women's voices deserve to be heard, that dreams deserve to be nurtured, and that no barrier is insurmountable when we stand together. There is a certain kind of magic in knowing that women who have never met me, who have never walked my path, still chose to stand beside me. That kind of solidarity is rare, it is powerful, and it is exactly what the world needs more of. So today, as the world celebrates the achievements of women everywhere, I celebrate you. Your kindness, your strength, and the way you remind me and so many others that we are never truly alone.
All right, so this is a poem also by Munira. It's titled, I Am a Teacher in Gaza. I am a teacher in Gaza, not a memory, not a story from afar, but a living voice, a heartbeat beneath the rubble. I taught grammar under drones, recited poems while bombs fell, and told my students to hold on, even when the walls around us shook. I taught with no electricity, no internet, no guarantee we'd finish the lesson or survive it. But we kept going, because that's what Gaza does. We continue, we resist, with language, with love, with learning. My classroom is now silence and ashes, but I carry the voices of my students everywhere. They are not gone. They are seeds in the soil, waiting to rise again. I am still a teacher, even when the school is gone, even when the world looks away, even when my hands are tired from burying books and dreams, I teach. Because in Gaza, education is defiance, and my voice, our voices, will not be erased.
This concludes our mutual aid literary reading. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to all of our wonderful readers. You heard educators, writers, professors, community members. Thank you for choosing to use your voices to amplify these beautiful writings by Dr. Hassan Al Qatrawy and Munira El Najar. thank you again to Eric and the Berta and Beckett team so much for making this event possible. I also, although she's not able to be here tonight, I just want to thank my dear friend Elle, who has been an amazing thought partner in helping me to organize and plan this reading. And finally, all my gratitude and respect to my dear friends, Munira and Dr. Hassan, for so generously sharing their brilliant writings with us. And before you leave, please, if you have not had a chance to donate yet, there is still time to do that, either at the station through the QR code. I can also take cash, checks, any form, whatever works for you. Also, there is a very brief form at the end of your survey. By the way, I also included Munira and Dr. Hassan's Instagram handles. So please, if you're connected in that space, follow them. They're constantly sharing about their lived experiences. There's a lot of powerful writing there. This feedback form is very short. The questions are optional, but it would really help us to get some sense of how the fundraising went for this mutual aid offering. If you're comfortable sharing, it is anonymous. Also, there is a section in the form where you can write a brief message to Munira and Dr. Hassan, and I will compile these and share it with them. Finally, we will close with Munira's words of gratitude. She says, "Thank you for making space for our voices. Thank you for standing with educators from Gaza. Thank you for choosing hope."
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
And the occupation!
And the occupation! The people united will never be defeated.